Guys, welcome to my channel. Today we will talk about an unsolved crime. Committing a murder without leaving a trace for detectives to uncover has grown increasingly difficult since DNA evidence and fingerprint databases have become increasingly important in police operations. Many of the unsolved killings in this section occurred before DNA evidence was first used in court, 1986 in the UK and 1987 in the US, and some occurred before fingerprints were accepted as evidence 1911 in the USA. With today's crime scene investigation tools, it's possible that these stories would have been uncovered. Today we will be talking about Napoleon Bonaparte. Is it true that Napoleon Bonaparte died of arsenic poisoning? His death took place on May 5, 1821. Location: St. Helena, South Atlantic. Napoleon may have led massive armies to incredible successes, but his military prowess could not save him from an untimely demise. When Napoleon Bonaparte arrived on the remote British island of St. Helena on October 17, 1815, he was leaving behind the life of an emperor and stepping into his new duty as a prisoner. Napoleon abdicated the French crown and surrendered to the British on June 18, 1815, following his terrible defeat at the Battle of Waterloo. While he may have hoped for exile in the United States, they decided that the best destination for him was this little island in the South Atlantic Ocean, 1,200 miles distant from the nearest shore. Napoleon went through almost 6 years living on this St. Helena island, but after some time he got sick and passed on May 5, 1821, at the age of 52. The decision from the examination of his body was that he had passed away from stomach cancer growth, similar to his dad. A comprehensive study distributed in the diary Nature Clinical Practice Gastroenterology and Herpetology in 2007 explained that the examination was correct and gave detailed proof that it was in fact predictable. Most clinical analysts are in understanding with regards to the idea of Napoleon's death, however something didn't add up about his carcass that focuses to a more suspicious end. Was this dangerous passing decision concealing a plot to kill him? In Napoleon's last will and confirmation, which was recorded only like 3 weeks before his downfall, he stated, "I die before my time. Murdered by the English government and its recruited professional killer." This statement has framed the reason for the conviction that cancer was not what polished Napoleon off, but rather that at least one of the people living on the island with him plotted to kill him. First of all, there were numerous who needed Napoleon dead. His French opponents, who dreaded he would return, once more, to take the privileged position, since Napoleon had recently gotten away from the Mediterranean island of Elba, where he had been banished after his constrained surrender, and his enemies, countries of such as Britain, Austria, Prussia, and Russia. There was a new monarch. It was the reign of Louis Philippe I, and he began it with the overthrow of French King Charles X by the people in 1830. Because the new ruler had no grudge against Napoleon, he began talks with the British to have Napoleon's body returned to France. In 1840, his remains were transferred to Paris from its resting place on St. Helena. When the soldiers ordered to recover him opened the casket, they were astounded to find a body that had been kept very perfectly, despite the fact that it had not even been embalmed, which is a process of preserving the body by putting chemicals in it such as arsenic. Because arsenic is so harmful, it would normally degrade human tissue, especially if excessive concentrations of arsenic are present. Several tests for the presence of arsenic were carried out on samples of Napoleon's hair over the years. During his life, he gave his people, for example, his fans locks of his hair as souvenirs, and after he died his hair was cut off and distributed as keepsakes to various members of his establishment, providing more evidence for testing the levels of arsenic in the samples, which date from 1805 to 1821, range from 15 to 100 parts per million ppm. 1 ppm is regarded as a more normal level, and 3 ppm is considered the highest limit. These findings back up the idea that Napoleon was exposed to significant quantities of arsenic in the final months of his life. How did he end up with so much arsenic in his body? Arsenic was a common ingredient in medical cures, textiles, artificial plants, soaps, and paper products back in the 19th century. It was used for killing rodents and putting wallpaper. And at the Longwood House, where Napoleon lived on St. Helena, there was a lot of wallpaper. In the 1990s, a piece of green wallpaper from Napoleon's quarters was put to the test. It was pulled from the walls by a visitor to the site in 1823, not long after Napoleon's death, and stored in a scrapbook. Arsenic levels were found to be extremely high in the sample. It's possible that the island's normally wet and damp weather provided the ideal environment for mold to develop and produce significant levels of an arsenic-based gas. In the UK alone, 1 million rolls of wallpaper were sold each year by 1830, making this deadly aesthetic feature a typical sight throughout the 1800s. At the turn of the century, testing revealed that 4 out of every 5 wallpapers contained arsenic. While it's possible that the high levels of arsenic found in Napoleon's hair samples contributed to his death, many physicists have studied other samples from Napoleon's earlier life and said that he had lived with these relatively high levels of arsenic since he was a kid. So does that mean arsenic wasn't the cause of his death? Napoleon was unquestionably ill before his death. And the reason for his death was determined by an autopsy performed by his physician, Dr. Francois Carlo Antimerchi, and confirmed by 5 additional doctors after his death. However, research conducted by a team at the San Francisco Medical Department in recent years has brought attention to the therapies he got. According to their theory, the drug that was supposed to help him get well may have actually killed him. To ease the irregular queasiness Napoleon experienced over the most recent 8 months of his life, he was recommended customary portions of antimony potassium tartrate, which is a harmful drab salt that initiates emphysema. This drug would have caused a genuine potassium insufficiency, which might have prompted a conceivably lethal heart condition. This, combined with the 600 mg multiple times the ordinary portion of mercuric chloride, or calomel as it is generally known, was given to him 2 days before he died to assist with clearing his digestive tracts. This would have also decreased his body's potassium levels. Be that as it may, calomel would likewise have covered up the side effects of arsenic harming whenever given to a person before their death. Maybe this uncommonly huge portion was a way of camouflaging the poisoner's activities. Most specialists today say that these clinical therapies might have ruined instead of helped Napoleon's condition, and that regardless of whether arsenic had been managed as a toxin, he would still have gotten the stomach cancer. Napoleon was an influential man with numerous foes. And regardless of how he kicked the bucket, his demise would have energized paranoid ideas for quite a long time to come. While the examination result eliminated the requirement for any authority murder examination, students of history have blamed various people from St. Helena's inhabitants. These incorporate Dr. Antimerchi, who scholars accept was paid off by the French government to kill Napoleon. Likewise charged is Napoleon's guard in jail, Sir Hudson Lowe, who was stressed his detainee may attempt to get away. Comte Charles Tristan de Montholon is a more convincing suspect. He had all access to Napoleon's household and to Napoleon's food and drinks. This guy was a political opponent of Napoleon's who wanted to ensure that he'd never return to France. It's been said that Comte d'Artois coerced Montholon into providing frequent doses of arsenic to Napoleon. Furthermore, Montholon's wife had an affair with Napoleon, and he stayed and didn't say anything because he wanted to benefit from his will. However, some people believe Montholon was not attempting to poison his master at all. Rather, he was attempting to make his patron sick enough to persuade the British to allow him to leave the island. What do you guys think happened? Did Napoleon die from cancer or was it a very good planned out murder? Well, we will never know. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Also share this video. Bye.